Hi everybody, I'm Jack. This is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Just here for another one of our little weekend chats videos. This one might get a little bit out there today. I was watching something good last night, got into a couple of different streams of thought, and just actually came up with this one the morning that I'm shooting this video. Didn't really have a talk worked out for this week, and this one just kind of fell into place. So I'll try not to get too far out there with it. As you see from the title, everything is connected. Consciousness, energy, and nature. That encompasses a lot of things. But anyhow, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button now. Click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. You might want to do that also, even if if you're not a new subscriber. I guess what I'm trying to say, because YouTube seems to have that little glitch in it where it's unsubscribing people from channels. In fact, as I keep saying this, I need to go check some of my channels and make sure I'm subscribed to all the places I want to be subscribed to. But anyhow, I was looking for something different to do as I was, winding down last night. Didn't want to just watch TV. Wasn't looking for just mere entertainment. So I kind of started searching around. And I watched this documentary, movie, whatever, by this guy. I used to watch a lot of his stuff, and as I'm talking, this is kind of out there science in a way, but this guy's like a next level physicist. I'm not Mr. Science or anything, but I've always enjoyed him, and his name is Nassim Haramein. And the particular video I watched, which was the movie that was made based on his thoughts. And it was narrated by Patrick Stewart, I forget his name now, the guy from Star Trek, was really good, called The Connected Universe. And I'm going to read and share just a little bit, but just some different things out there that it just really kind of does show how things are connected in strange and different ways out there. I've just got a couple of random readings I'm going to share with you today. All right, the first is on, and he talks about this a little bit in there. He talks about a lot of different things in the movie, and one of the people that keeps coming up, and you're talking about energy. He's getting into some stuff. This is what I'm going to read next, which is actually some stuff I had read, and when I was kind of into sacred geometry a few years back. The Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio, and how some of these things appear in nature, and how you'll start seeing the connectedness of everything out there once you've heard about it and once you start looking. But also we get into energy too. One of the quotes that really stuck out at me during the film was Nikola Tesla. Some really good thought by him. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And this first piece here, this is good stuff. How are Fibonacci numbers expressed in nature? You won't find Fibonacci numbers everywhere in the natural world. Many plants and animals express different number sequences, and just because a series of numbers can be applied to an object, that doesn't necessarily imply there's any correlation between figures and reality. As with numerological superstitions, such as famous people dying in sets of 3, sometimes a coincidence is just a coincidence. But Fibonacci numbers appear in nature often enough to prove that they reflect some naturally occurring patterns. You can commonly spot these by studying the manner in which various plants grow. Here are a few examples. Seed heads, pine cones, fruits, and vegetables. Look at the array of seeds in the center of a sunflower, and you'll notice what looks like spiral patterns curving left and right. Amazingly, if you count these spirals, your total will be a Fibonacci number. Divide the spirals into those pointed left and right, and you'll get 2 consecutive Fibonacci numbers. You can decipher spiral patterns in pine cones, pineapples, and cauliflower that also reflect the Fibonacci sequence in this manner. Flowers and branches. Some plants express the Fibonacci sequence in their growth points, the places where tree branches form or split. One trunk grows until it produces a branch, resulting in 2 growth points. in 2 growth points. The main trunk then produces another branch, resulting in 3 growth points. Then the trunk and the first branch produce 2 more growth points, bringing the total to 5. This pattern continues following the Fibonacci numbers. Additionally, if you count the number of petals on a flower, you'll often find the total to be one of the numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. For example, lilies and irises have 3 petals. Buttercups and wild roses have 5. Delphiniums have 8 petals, and so on. Honeybees. A honeybee colony consists of a queen, a few drones, and a lot of workers. The female bees, queens and workers, all have 2 parents, a drone and a queen. Drones, on the other hand, hatch from unfertilized eggs. This means they have only 1 parent. Therefore, Fibonacci numbers express a drone's family tree in that he has 1 parent, 2 grandparents, 3 great-grandparents, and so forth. The human body. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. You'll notice that most of your body parts follow the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 5. You have 1 nose, 2 eyes, 3 segments to each limb, and 5 fingers on each hand. The proportions and measurements of the human body can also be divided up in terms of the golden ratio. DNA molecules follow this sequence, measuring 34 angstroms long and 21 angstroms wide for each full cycle of the double helix. Why do so many patterns reflect the Fibonacci sequence? Scientists have pondered the question for centuries. In some cases, the correlation may just be coincidence. In other situations, the ratio exists because that particular growth pattern evolved as the most effective. Okay, no, that's it for this one. I've got another one here that's really good, and this is the 3rd universal truth. Everything is connected. And this is from a book called Finding the Field, an adventure of body, mind, and spirit. And this is actually a novel, but this is the author is talking about expressing like universal truths and his process about why he actually did it in a novel other than a dry scientific type base. And I'm gonna, like I say, I'm jumping around a lot. I'm gonna share the links to these with you in the description. Blah, blah, blah. In this article, Michael Brown explores the 3rd of the 5 universal truths in his novel, Finding the Field, an adventure of body, mind, and spirit. Source website is www.findingthefield.com. What's the connection between your hat and an ant in the Amazon jungle? For centuries, in our techno culture, such an idea has seemed absurd. Not anymore. I once saw a magazine picture of a Papua New Guinean tribesman with loincloth, featured feathers in his hair, bones around his neck. His eyes were sparkling, and the words attributed to him were, "We are one person." For centuries, that idea has also seemed absurd. Not anymore. We enter the age when such understanding will be as natural as breathing. The 3rd universal truth is that all things, seen and unseen, are connected. All things are different faces of consciousness. The field, the great spirit, the source, the Tao, the one. These are all names for the same thing. The universe is consciousness, an ocean in motion, a river of eddies, an infinite field of creative works, in which the art is the artist, and the artist is the art. Consciousness, longing to experience itself, imagines us into existence, individualized, so that we can interact as if we were separate. What we create in that experience is also consciousness, and whatever object you can name, a mountain, a mouse, a fish, or a fowl, a blade of grass, or a puff of air, all of it is consciousness. Many of us struggle just with the idea that all humans are one being. But try this. Imagine that you are a tiny island in the sea. Everything above the water is your body and conscious mind. But the island also stretches out under the water, further and further under the surface into the depths of the powerful subconscious, until it levels off. Then in every direction it rises again, towards other islands above the surface. We look at other islands and think we are separate, but we are one. All things are one. All things are consciousness expressing itself. Here's an ancient story from the East. 2 monks argue over a flag waving in the wind. One says, "It's the flag that is moving," and the other says, "It's the wind that is moving." So they put the problem to their teacher. "You are both wrong," the teacher says. "It's only consciousness that is moving." Imagine this. Stretch a rope between 2 fixed objects, tight enough to thrum when you pluck it. On each pluck, a pulse flashes down the line, bounces off the far end, and dies on the way back. If I ask you what it was that went down the line, you're likely to say that it was a pulse or a wave. Fine. Now attach a peg somewhere on the line and pluck it again. How does the peg move? Sideways, of course, perhaps only a twitch. Now lose the peg. It was only a marker, and ask yourself how every particle of rope moves as the pulse races through. Yes, sideways. Is the wave the same thing as the rope? Of course not, you're likely to answer. The wave is energy. It travels in the rope and moves the rope sideways. Where did the energy come from? I put it there when I plucked it. Exactly. So energy arrives from somewhere else, picks up the rope and makes a wave shape. As the wave travels, it takes up bits of rope at the front end, replacing those dropping out the back. And we've not said anything to offend a traditional scientist. Okay so far? Now, instead of a peg on a rope, imagine a dinghy in open water. As long as slow wave passes through, the dinghy goes up and down, and so do the water particles. The original energy arrives courtesy of the wind, making a wave shape. The wave takes up bits of water at the front end and replaces those dropping out the back. Again, nothing to bother a scientist. Let's go to the really significant part. Here are more facts accepted by traditional science. Your stomach lining is replaced every 4 days, your skin every month, your skeleton every 3 months. At least 98% of the atoms of your body are replaced every year. You have a completely new physical body at least once every 2 years, including your brain cells. As the energy travels in you, it picks up bits of earth, food, and water to replace those you excrete. The original energy comes from where exactly? Now you're getting the picture. Our essence is not our bodies. We're the energy of consciousness wearing our bodies like glove puppets. There's a term for you, glove puppets. Continuously discarding old parts of the puppet and replacing them with new until we withdraw the hands and move on. Nonsense, says traditional science. There's no ghost in the machine. The universe is made of dead things called atoms, and therefore so are we. It's like a complex mechanical toy. Our paths dictated by the tiny atomic interactions that make up our bodies and environment. In other words, says traditional science, the future is fixed by the past. Michelangelo's David, Beethoven's Fifth, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet were supposedly all created by blind mechanical process. That rigid view has lost steam recently. Modern science, looking for the fundamental building blocks of the universe, has made an astonishing discovery. The behavior and even the existence of atomic particles is somehow dependent on the mind and the intent of the scientist doing the experiment. Yes, you read that correctly. Some scientists are starting to break ranks and say this is the first scientific sighting of the universal field of consciousness. Not only is there a ghost in the machine, the ghost makes and is the machine. The fundamental building block of the universe is not a boson, subatomic particle, it's thought. Thought, especially passionate thought, is the cutting tool of consciousness. It acts on the great field like a sculptor's chisel on a rock, which contains all possible shapes. The sculptures move around and shift in and out of existence according to the rhythms of thought. Scientists say energy can be neither created nor destroyed. It can only change its form. But when they recognize the universal consciousness, they will rewrite that law like this. Consciousness can be neither created nor destroyed. It can only change the form of its expression. Modern physics is slowly waking to find itself in bed with spiritual thought. Here's a question. If we humans turn over a new physical body every 2 years, how do we explain, for example, a cancer tumor that lasts 5 years? It's just like the story, it's just like the story of King Alfred's axe, the one that survived for centuries with 2 new heads and 3 new handles along the way. The consciousness that formed the tumor keeps replacing these cells, like a mafia family that lasts longer than the lifetime of any of its members. Old science sees DNA as original cause, but DNA is the instruction code, not the instructor. The instructor is consciousness. Which comes first, the happiness or the smile, the sadness or the tears? I can't claim to be speaking logically. Logic is dispassionate, whereas the universe is a giant passion, and nothing exists that is not an expression of that passion. Logic is a cold line with no branches, whereas the universe is a multitude of cross connections. The human brain alone has more cross connections between its neurons than there are grains of sand in all of the beaches of the earth combined. Einstein understood that. He said that any proposition arrived at by purely logical means is devoid of reality. Think of a word, say axe, and ask yourself what it means. Your answer might be something you use to split wood. But what does use mean? What does split mean? What is wood? Each word is defined by all words, each thought by all thoughts, each thing by all things. The poet William Blake wrote in these lines, "To see the world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour." All things are so utterly connected, they are of each other. What is elsewhere has presence here, and if it does not have presence here, it is nowhere. All things are so intimately one that what you do unto others is precisely what is done unto you. Even if you were to travel in a spaceship further than the most distant galaxy, you cannot be disconnected from consciousness. Even if you were to inflict deeds too terrible for the imagination on others, you cannot be disconnected from consciousness. We are already home. We need only remove our blindfolds to see it. Good stuff, a little deep, a little out there. Like I say, it was really good. I hope you will watch this movie, The Connected Universe, by Nassim Haramein. I'm going to probably watch some more of his stuff tonight. Interesting stuff, theoretical stuff, stuff to make you think about, but just a different way of looking at how our universe works. And it's kind of a comforting thing, I find, to kind of feel like we're all connected. It's all connected, and we can see those connections out there. Anyhow, just some thought-provoking stuff for the weekend as usual. Your mileage may vary. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Share it with your out there friends that you think might enjoy these weekend conversations. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Love you lots. Peace.